2, 1.
Five. Oh, hi. Sorry. So is everyone ready?
Yep.
Okay, good evening. I'd like to call to order the school committee meeting for tonight, Monday, April 6th. And as we all know by now, Governor Baker had suspended certain provisions of the open meeting law, which is allowing us to connect to conduct our meeting remotely in this way. And members of the public can access this meeting via live stream at www.youtube.com/DHS TV media. And in addition to that, this meeting will be rebroadcast on DCTV channels 9 and 18 on Wednesday and Thursday at 5 o'clock, Friday at 6 a.m., Saturday at 8 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. And just one notice before we begin the public comment. If anyone would like to comment on any of today's agenda items, just email Kathleen Genther, KathleenGentner @dartmouthschools.org. Please include your name with your comment. So first on our agenda, I would entertain a motion to approve the regular. Oh, roll call.
Roll call.
Kathleen Amaral,
Here.
Chris Oliver,
Here.
Carol Karafotis,
Here.
Shannon Jenkins,
Here.
John Nunes.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes, the regular session minutes from our last meeting, March 23rd.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? No. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now I will entertain a motion to approve the executive session meetings from that same night, March 23rd, 2020.
So moved, Madam Chair, with the stipulation that they be held until the matter for which they were intended is complete.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, so Madam Chair, I did, when I was looking through them today, I did have a concern about one of the sentences in there. So I would just like to ask that we do hold the executive session minutes so I could just touch base with you and Kate on them.
Okay,
We can take it. Yeah.
so, okay. So we will not accept your motion. Okay, that's fine with me. Next on our agenda, we have the public comment. So we're going to have some awkward pause here, allowing for some time for anyone that has comment on tonight's agenda to please email Kate.
Be there. Madam Chair, have we heard from anybody?
I have not.
Looks like we got 18 viewers watching right now.
Not bad. remind everyone who is just tuning in that if you have any comments about any items on tonight's agenda, that you please email your name along with your comments to Kathleen Genthner. That's Kathleen with a K. Genthner is Genther at dartmouthschools.org. And we don't comment or respond to any public comment. We just take comments under advisement for our own knowledge and our deliberation. So feel free. We'll give it a few more minutes, a couple more minutes.
Couple of minutes, fine.
And Kate's email is in the description. If you're watching the live feed, you can find her email.
Yeah.
I do see one. Excuse me, we did receive an email from
Okay.
Renee Vieira. Did the school committee have any input? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Did the school committee have any input in the remote learning plan? Was that heard?
Yeah.
yes, I heard it.
Yes.
Thank you.
So Madam Chair, we might want to note that the superintendent we don't respond to comments, even though it was a question, right? But we are going to be talking, I think, about
Yeah.
that. Superintendent will be updating us on that later. So it's not that we're
Yeah.
ignoring it. It's just that we don't respond to comments during the public comment period.
Yeah, that'll come up later on. So
Yes.
thank you, Renee. Have there been any new emails? I suspect no.
I did receive an email from an individual who did forward a query or something to do with the last day of school, Ms. Brooks, and she's asking if that would be shared during public comment. I just received this from Ms. Brooks, so I just bring that to your attention. And a couple of other emails that I had received prior to today concerning that that matter. So, which was forwarded to you, Kathleen, if you
Okay.
recall.
Yes, yep, I received, I think we all received them. Is Ms. Brooks asking that her letter be read during public comment? Is that your?
She writes, would my email be shared during public comment?
Okay.
I don't know if you want to interpret that as if it could be read. That is a way to interpret that.
Mhm.
I can find it. I don't know if you have that email handy, Kathleen.
I can find it.
I have
Madam
it.
Chair,
I have
Madam
it right here. If
I wouldn't mind if it be read. Go
Madam
ahead.
Chair?
I hear somebody. John?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've got, I mean, under new business, we have the last day of school as an agenda item, so we can always talk about Ms. Brooks's letter at that time, I believe.
I'm fine with that as well. What is the committee? What is the pleasure of the committee?
So, I mean, we're just waiting right now, so I don't think maybe there's any harm in just reading her letter, right? And
Okay.
we'll kill like another 2 minutes, and then if we have the emails, and then that also makes it part of sort of the minutes in the official public record. So rather than us all sitting here and looking at our screens, we could maybe read it,
Yeah.
just something to do.
Sure. Kate, would you be able to read that to us?
Of course.
Thanks.
Dear members of the Dartmouth School Committee, I write to you in consideration of the discussion of agenda item last day of school 2019-2020. While none of us can predict the actions of the governor, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and/or the curve of this virus, I want to plead my case to push the last day of school to Friday, June 19th. I realize that even if you agree to the 19th, it is possible that the above mentioned factors could invalidate the decision due to continued health risks. However, the longer the potential year, the more opportunities we have to return to school, even for a few weeks. As you are aware, I will retire at the end of this school year, and so selfishly, I would like to have closure. However, I do feel that our students would also benefit from the return to school. I can think of reasons for every grade level to reconnect with the teachers and classmates in order to reset some level of normalcy into their life. No matter how we have offered a sense of structure and opportunities for learning, reached out to connect with our most vulnerable students, provided resources, meals and technology, as well as engaged via a variety of platforms, we have not and cannot replicate the human connections we had taken for granted prior to this unprecedented event. It is also possible that the coronavirus could reappear in the fall. If we are able to reconnect with our students prior to a summer break, we have the opportunity to build another resiliency skill set, which we may need to expand upon in the fall, or sadly, at any given time in the future. This experience to date has put so many things into perspective for all of us. I feel that we are all changed because of it, hopefully changed for the better. Thank you for your consideration. From a distance, Heidi Silverbrooks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
my concern is there were other folks that also sent emails in. So I'm not sure if Ms. Genthner has those stored. I know I only saw about 2 more, I believe. I did respond to one parent, letting her know the discussion would be taking place, of course. She was concerned, of course, year-end activities, having a senior in the high
Yeah.
school, but so I'm just a little concerned, but I will be providing the committee updates on the survey, et cetera, during the calendar time, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
I think we can bring those up during that discussion. I think Heidi was resending her, my understanding, it sounded like she wanted that read specifically during the
Yeah.
public comment.
I would agree with that, Kathleen.
Anything else, Kate?
Sorry. Well, a little late here. I am. Heidi responded, no need to read.
Okay, it was
No,
a very
just
nice.
another email from Heidi stating that it wasn't necessary to read it, so.
Well, I
Okay,
enjoyed
so-
listening to you read it.
It was a time filler.
Oh, okay. What time are we at now? We're at 6:43.
Okay.
There is another email from, can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, we didn't hear who it was
I'm
from.
sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
From Renee Vieira. It goes on to speak about the end of the year, rather vacation week, which I guess would affect the end of the year. I don't know if that's something that you want to be read now. Is that yes, Kathleen?
Yeah, I would say yes.
I would say yes too.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. I will do that. Ms. Vieira writes, I understand the idea of trying to keep the momentum with students going. I also know that the way we are doing our jobs and the way we are asking students to learn is overwhelming in many ways. I strongly feel that we need to follow the holidays in the calendar. We all could use a long weekend to catch our breaths next week. Families who celebrate Easter will not be able to attend church and celebrate with family. Everyone, students, families, staff, administration really could use a short break from the educational responsibilities aspect of this crisis. The government health officials are telling us daily that this area will be hit hard in a little less than 2 weeks, just before the April vacation. As this situation reaches higher levels locally, we all might need to simplify the daily expectations and focus on family. The DEA held a board meeting yesterday, and a common concern was the fact that the days do not end. Folks are working on lessons, answering emails, creating tutorials, learning new technologies well into the evenings. This is especially true for those with school-aged children that need their parents' guidance technology during the day. When asked the question about Good Friday and April vacation week, it was unanimous that these holidays be recognized. Everyone needs to unplug for a little while without guilt. Renee Vieira.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we are at 6:46. I don't know how, if the committee agrees, I feel it might be a good time to close public comment.
Fine with me.
Okay. So we're going to move on to the next order of business, which is under old business. I would like to turn it over to Mr. Kiley, who, if you could please give us an update as it relates to the budget. I know here we have fiscal year budget and vote, but I just want to hear an update and then hear from the committee as to how we should best proceed.
Thank you, Mrs. Amaral. So we originally, had this agenda item on tonight to vote on the budget. We've had some discussion internally and with a couple of school committee members about whether or not it makes any sense to vote this evening. I think that there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of things that are still developing, and I wouldn't recommend moving forward with a vote tonight. I did have a meeting this afternoon with Mr. McInnes and Mr. Barnes via Zoom and had some discussion about next year's budget. But I just don't see any benefit of moving forward and voting and defining a number tonight at this point, given all the uncertainty.
Madam Chair.
You're
You're
muted.
Go ahead, John. In her absence, I'll call on you.
I'll just shake my head. Sorry, I don't know how that happened. Yes, John.
To you and also to my colleagues, Mr. Kiley, at some point in time, I realize at the moment we don't know what we have for a town meeting date, but somewhere down the line, we're going to have to get a number to the Finance Committee. I guess they're doing, as is every other board throughout the Commonwealth, doing what we're doing, and that is, meeting remotely. But I'm gonna make an assumption that at some point in time, we have to get a number to town hall. So I'm just wondering if at our next meeting, which is the 27th, we just vote on the budget, that barring something radical that changes between now and then, that we go forward with the budget that we have. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, John. Does anybody else have any comments? Chris?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I'm trying to be a realist here, and I know we're supposed to vote on the budget tonight, and I also know there's a lot of uncertainty. That being said, Mr. Kiley, have you gotten any indication from Town Hall that our funding for next year, whether it's Chapter 70, local receipts, or anything like that, there's the potential to be affected?
Well, they are preparing preliminary estimates based on reductions in local receipts and state aid. So those two areas, I would think, and I think they believe, are the two most volatile components of the equation. So they are preparing estimates with some reduction. Of course, how much the reduction is going to be, we're not going to know for a very long time. So I don't think that is actually going to be particularly helpful in shaping this, because as Mr. Noon said, and he has a good point, sooner or later, we're going to have to just move forward.
Agreed.
So, we're never going to have all the answers. I'd like to have more answers, and I don't see a big risk in waiting a couple of weeks at this point, in the hopes that maybe there are some more answers.
Okay. No, thank you. Yeah, I'm on board with waiting.
Dr. Jenkins?
Thank you. This may seem out of order, but I feel like it's the time to talk about it. I want to go back. I was reading the minutes. We got a public comment last time about parking fees.
Yep.
Because we're talking about budget, I think I know we don't respond, but I think it was a student who sent us that email. So I do want to sort of address those concerns. One, I believe the busing, we provide busing free of charge for high schoolers, right? So just like all of the other schools, they have the option for free transportation. The reason why we don't charge parking fees at other schools is because none of the other students are old enough to drive. Right? So there's no parking fees at other schools because there are no student drivers. So we're treating all students consistently by offering them all free transportation, right? But then for the extra parking that we need, because we have student drivers at that school, that's what those fees support. I think ideally we might want to not have those sorts of fees. We do recognize it's a burden, but our budget just simply can't support it at this time. And so driving really is a privilege because we are providing that free transportation. So I just wanted to address that in the context of budget discussion, because I do want people to know when they provide public comment, that we do hear them. And particularly, it seemed like it was coming from a student. I'm not sure about that, but I definitely want to respond to those comments. And then the other thing that I will say is that I'm in agreement with my colleagues about waiting. I mean, we just have no idea. The state restarted their budget process, I think, this week. Governor Baker did a conference. Someone asked him and he said, I don't know. I mean, I think he literally said, we're scratching our heads. We have no idea. So who knows if we'll have any more certainty or any more information. But I mean, I think we all know it's going to be bad. It's all, so we got to try to see if we can figure some things out between now and then. So I'm on board with waiting.
I am also. I mean, the more information we have, the better it is. And I agree with Dr. Jenkins about the parking at this point in time when we don't even know what we're going to have for a budget. Not the time really to cut back on fees, even though we wish we could.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Shannon. That was going to be my comment to make. It is a student, so it is important that we follow up, because it's encouraging to see students speaking up and advocating for things that that they see as you know, worth changing at some point. But agreed to you, we're kind of in a bad place with the budget, and so it's not looking good, pandemic or not. So yeah, I would too. Now with this, does it require sort of a vote to table it, or is it just a
No, I think just the inaction is sufficient at this point, and I agree with Mr. Noon's point that we should plan on moving forward probably at the next meeting and have some recommendation.
okay?
Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
Yes, John.
Yeah, just to follow up on Dr. Jenkins' comment. I mean, this committee a few years ago, and I'm not sure, no disrespect, the advantage of being old and around for a while, Kylie would know. But this committee did reduce the student parking fee a number of years ago.
Yes.
You know, was one of the student reps that we had at the time that brought it to the committee, and he, if my memory is any good, you know, laid out some good discussion, good topics type of deal. And we took it under advisement, and we did reduce the fee down. So, you know, we have listened, but again, you know, I go back to a lot of years ago when there was, you know, a Proposition 2.5 override, and the school was included along with everything from the town. And one of the things that if the override didn't pass, we're going to be student activity fees, et cetera, et cetera. And lo and behold, guess where we are? So
Mrs.
that's
Ambrose?
Yes.
where we are.
Yeah.
So if I could just explain.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Jim went away. Sometimes his
Let's see.
internet cuts out.
Oh,
He'll be
no.
back. If I'll just fill in for a second. I just want to make
There he
note
is.
that,
I just
yeah,
got,
I just want to make note that Mr. Tebow did meet with that particular student. So to Dr. Jenkins' point, you know, we do try to respond and let kids know that we're listening, but
Yeah.
he did meet with that student and explained what the fees are used for and shared a survey that we had from area districts. And, you know, we are very low with the fees that we ask for compared, and we would love to keep it that way as best as possible. But I'm sure Mr. Kiley will explain what we use it for. I'm sure that's what he was going to do. I just
He's
wanted
back.
to make note of that the student did have a meeting with Mr. Tebow, and I think he understood after the fact of why we were collecting the fees. So anyway.
Thank you.
so before I get booted off again here, I was going to say exactly what Dr. Gifford just shared with you, and is that Mr. Tebow and Mr. Martin met with the student who had that public comment and did share that information. And Mr. Nunes is correct. We went back, I want to say it might be 8 years ago now. We went from $100 down to $60 per year, and that was through working with some students. Group of students had brought that to our level, and I had met with them and made a recommendation to the school committee at that time to reduce the fees. But it's true, we really don't have the budget in order to eliminate all fees. And I would love to eliminate all fees for everything, but I don't think that that's something that is going to be something that we could do in the near future, unfortunately. So we do use it to maintain the parking lot, which needs a significant amount of maintenance. And I can't see any other way to, to finance that at this time.
Thank you for that.
Kylie.
Yes, Chris. Oh, I think you're muted. I think you're muted.
I may have brought that up a couple of meetings ago or a couple of months ago about the parking fees. And I'm going to take a Mr. Nunes point of view. I have a philosophical issue with charging students to park their cars at the high school. However, that being said, I do agree with my colleagues that at this point in time, we're in no shape to be looking at reducing fees when we're dealing with the type of budget we are. But I personally, I don't think we should be charged specifically parking fees to park a car there. That's all. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. So with that, I think the consensus is to table this at least, look, wait a few weeks, see if there are any updates, and then discuss again. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay. So now we're on to new business. And the first thing on our list here is to discuss the last day of school for this school year. So Dr. Gifford, could you let us know where we are with that as far as the date?
Sure.
And
Sure. So right now, if we did nothing and continued on with the April vacation as planned, we would be releasing on June 29th. If we did not go forward with April vacation and use those 4 days as learning days, we would be released on June 15th. So with that said, I just want you to know that across the state, numerous districts have shared what they're doing, and it is all over the place. People have various reasons, and we can see both sides, I'm sure. Right now, with the,
Dr.
what?
Gifford, you
I'm
said
sorry.
June 29th? Did you mean June
No.
19th?
19th, did I say the 29th?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you did.
I'm sorry.
It's a little
I
harder
guess
to
I want them to keep coming. I'm sorry. That would scare everyone.
Yes.
You're gonna steal my thunder, Bonnie.
I have no idea why I said that, but anyway, the 19th or the 15th. So those are the 2 days we're looking at. And the only thing, and I know the committee did get a couple of, I only saw 2 or 3 emails, which we've already discussed. I think all 2 or 3 were, at least 2 were from parents that advocated to keep April vacation. And the only other thing I will say is that we did send a survey out to the staff. We had 410 responses to this point, and about 74% voted that they would like to cancel April vacation, they feel that they've got the momentum going and they want to keep it going with their students and not disrupt that for those 4 days. And of course, that leaves, if I can see, about 26% that would like to keep April vacation. So, again, their sense is, and again, there's 2 sides. It's either take that break. People have been on high energy and really working hard to get things in order and create a pattern and momentum for students, and they need a break, or we want to keep that momentum going. So that's what we have for information right now.
okay. Can I ask, before I turn it over to the committee, because I want to hear their thoughts, everyone's thoughts, how does that impact, and I'm not talking about activities, how the senior class, would that change their, anything regarding their last day, exam, if we go back?
I know everything is so up in the air. The only thing I can say about the senior class, and obviously we could talk more about it during our remote learning plan time, but my update, but it's a good time for that. We have had, aside from everything, conversations with the high school admin team, who are also discussing, obviously always with their lead teacher team, but plans are in motion to ensure that the senior class gets something for everything. I mean, whether it goes way into the summer, if it's, they don't want to do things virtually. Who wants a virtual prom? I mean, a virtual graduation. So we're hoping that some of this gets back in order, at least towards the summer, and we can offer them and provide for them and give them all the activities that they want. So I wouldn't worry so much about the exact end date for academics. Just waiting to hear what the governor is going to declare. I'm hoping soon, one way or another, so that we can make those definite plans. But I just want to assure folks that we are in those conversations. The high school admin team is deep into that conversation of determining what we're going to offer for our seniors. And that's really paramount. It's high on our priority list.
Thank you. Who would like to comment? Chris?
Just To go back to Renee's email that Kate read, she mentioned something, and maybe I misunderstood. She mentioned something about not having Good Friday off and having the long weekend. Could we clarify that, Dr. Gifford?
Yes, I actually answered her question about that already on a meeting, I think Thursday or Friday, I can't even remember, to tell you the honest truth, but assured her we are not thinking about Good Friday at all. That's already in. So we're only talking about the 4 days during April vacation after, is it President's Day? The Monday.
Patriots Day.
Day.
Dr. Jenkins?
So, I mean, I guess we know that we're closed for April vacation, so that's really what this is a question about.
Right.
Do we have to make a decision tonight because we're not going to be open before April vacation. That's what it comes down to. Yeah.
Unless we call an emergency meeting,
Okay.
again, we want folks to have an idea of what's happening. So we can always do that. If people want to think about it.
I'm just personally torn about this because on the one hand you have survey data saying, people want to keep going, but then, Heidi and Renee have told us, the executive committee of the union and others, they definitely don't. But I just don't personally really know right now. I don't know. Meeting before April vacation, so it kind of feels like we need to make a decision tonight. I just want to hear what my fellow committee members think. I don't know.
Who'd like to go next? John?
Sure. Well, I sent you guys an email this morning and just following up on some stuff, but personally, I think two things. Number one, we don't know where this is headed, and we have no idea what the governor or the president or anybody, Department of Education, is going to do as we get closer to May 4th. They're talking about this thing blowing up in the next couple of weeks. And if it does, and you've got your 2-week quarantine and all that other good stuff, forget May 4th as a return date to school. Personal opinion. These are only my opinions. So if anybody gets mad, get mad at me because these are my 2 cents. My personal thought is that we're not going to get back into a classroom till around the 18th of May. Again, the 2 weeks brings us somewhere around the 24th or so of April. And then, 2 weeks after that, it basically brings you to May 18th. My thought is, we keep going through April vacation and unfortunately keep school in session till somewhere around the 24th or 25th of June. And that includes all students. And I'm sorry for the seniors, but I think we've got to try and give everyone as much educational opportunities once we get back into the classroom as we can. This is a little bit of a different time. This is a little bit of, uncharted territory across the board, and we've all talked about it, but, extraordinary times call for extraordinary circumstances. And my personal opinion is that we go through April vacation. We have Good Friday off, excuse me, and we have Patriots Day. I've got no issues with those. And go through to somewhere around the 24th, 25th, all students, to give them as much education as planned. I mean, nobody's going anywhere on vacation. You can't travel.
Yeah.
If you had made plans to go to Disney or go on a cruise April vacation, those aren't happening. Or at least, Disney's closed. There aren't many cruise ships going out, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing's open. So, just keep on with the education as much as we can. Yes, it extends the school year a little bit. It gives us, it's just a couple of weeks before summer vacation starts. And sorry, Mr. Kiley, it cuts down on the maintenance, having a couple of extra weeks to get things done. But I'm kind of thinking, right now, what's best for our students. So that's me.
Oh, Carol. Dr. Carol.
I'm just wondering, could you really do something like that? I mean, you have to look at the contract. How
That was
long?
going to be my question.
Yeah, how can you do that?
That's my thoughts. I got you. I hear you.
All right.
That's in the back of my mind too, but I'm putting it out there.
Well, I'm torn. I could go either way. One of the things that was said that made me think, I was thinking, first of all, go through April vacation and get out earlier. But then the whole idea of extending the year a little bit so that students could get back into their classroom, the seniors could get into their senior week and whatever it is they do is an appealing piece of that. And then you have Ms. Dr. Gifford saying that they're going to try to replicate all the things they would have had if, they had the opportunity. So I'm not much help here, but either way.
You're lots of help. I had a couple other hands raised. Chris did, and then Dr. Jenkins as well. Chris.
Sure. So I'm going to have to agree with whoever's spoken so far. I'm kind of torn myself. I am leaning more towards canceling April vacation, though, continuing the momentum that has built up and people getting into a routine here. Really, at the end of the day, we're talking about 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have my own thoughts about when school will be back in session. I'll keep those to myself. But I think I'm leaning more towards, and I think that'll be my stance, that we cancel April vacation. And we have the Good Friday off, we have Patriots Day off, and we continue through those 4 days. And I agree, and I hope that the DHS admin team will do everything in their powers to make sure that our seniors are sent off with a big celebration, one way or the other.
Dr. Jenkins.
So, I guess I have one question. I know when Governor Baker originally closed the schools, he made a statement that we would not extend the school year beyond the last scheduled day for snow days. I haven't stated, like, all the regulations are coming, like, you know what I mean? I'm sure you guys are all dealing with that. And I'm just curious that, again, to Mr. Noon's point, if Governor Baker's declaration still stands, that we will not be extending the school year beyond that last snow day.
That actually came from the commissioner, that we would not be held to hold it beyond the 185th day. However, we also have information that is still a local decision.
Okay.
So the school committee can decide to extend that date.
So I guess I would say personally, I'm inclined to honor the April vacation. I think there's a lot of parents who are trying to manage working from home, keeping their family safe, monitoring and supervising their kids' education. And I think lots of families could use a break, not just staff and teachers. I think there's a lot of families. And as we point out, that caseloads are supposed to peak around mid-April. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more families that are impacted and that are ill and that are dealing with that. So I'm inclined to continue with April vacation and then just go till the 19th. In the summer, I think people do have plans that they hope that they might be able to honor. And I know in the past, we don't have any plans, but I know in the past, we've looked very carefully when that last snow day is and have scheduled vacations for right after that. So there is, I think, potential to have a negative, and particularly after being cooped up for 2 months. Like if you have a vacation scheduled for June 21st, I don't think anything that's going to stop you from going on that vacation. Right. So I'd be inclined to do I think we're all over the board, but I would be inclined to honor that April vacation and give everyone a little rest, and then go ahead and set it at the 19th.
Anyone else? I don't know where we stand with this. I came into this thinking that I was leaning toward working through April vacation. I have a senior in my ear, like not wanting to go back, but that's a whole other story. This is just such a, unprecedented time. We keep hearing that this is just, we've never gone through this. So it's, I think that however we vote to keep or not, I mean, we're just doing the best we can here. But I do agree, some of the things that were said, 74% of the staff want to continue. So that's huge for me. 74% of those we're, asking to kind of figure all this out and support our kids. 74% just say, get it over with, do it. But then you hear those points. We had a few people email, as Dr. Gifford said, in support of going on to the 19th. And I hear you, John, with the learning and just making the most of it. I get it, but I don't know about keeping anybody in school much longer. This has been such a trying time. I am leaning toward that relaxation for that week and going till the 19th personally. I tend not to think about my own situation. I try to kind of think of everyone else. We all do. Try to think of the data from that survey, but something Shannon just said, it really feels like an opportunity to just give ourselves a break. We don't know what our health and wellness is going to be at that point in time. We don't know the impact that, the social emotional impact that any of what's to come in the next couple of weeks will have on our families and our community. And so I'm leaning toward taking that vacation. I didn't come in here thinking that. All of my research and thoughts were, let's just work through and let's end on the 15th. But as I stand right now, I think I'm leaning toward taking that break, having that break. So I don't know where that leaves all of us here. Chris?
If I could just add, Madam Chair, I've been thinking, while you've been talking, I've been thinking about what you've been saying, and as well as Dr. Jenkins. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to put my parent hat on. I have two students here. One's a senior, and trying to understand, right, even with school in session right now, there's still a lot of downtime that the students have. And if we're going to give 4 weeks, 4 days off for April vacation, everything's closed. The beaches are closed. You can't even go to Horseneck Beach anymore. I tried, and the parking lot's closed. The parks are closed. We really can't do anything other than stay in the house or go for a walk around the block or, locally. So I still think I stand with my position, but because I try to put myself into into what Dr. Jenkins said, what you said, Mrs. Amaral, and I just can't because there's already such a limited amount of opportunities for our students right now that I think the best place for them is in school.
Yeah, good point. Where are we? So John.
Make
I know
it
where
easy.
John is.
I make a motion that the Dartmouth Public Schools forego April vacation for those 4 days and have the virtual learning as is ongoing at the moment.
I'll second that.
What I'm saying is we go through, forget April vacation, we're going straight through.
And ending on the 15th.
Well, I didn't say that.
Okay, well.
I didn't say that. Did
To
not
be
say
determined.
that. I'll get there. I'm
Okay.
being,
I just have a
sorry.
question.
Yes, Dr. Karafotis?
In that survey, it's my understanding the teachers were requesting to go through the April vacation, but Renee was requesting not to go through the April vacation. Okay.
Yeah.
Correct. We had 410 responses to the survey.
How many teachers do we have?
Jim, was it three?
Yeah,
Three?
yeah, about 320.
Yeah, but this went, TAs as well, et cetera.
All right, so you've got a good group that answered the survey.
Yeah, I was surprised. 410 responses.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to go along with the responses then.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the table for that. We have a second, correct?
Correct.
Yes, I seconded.
Right. So any further discussion? Dr. Jenkins?
So I just want to note that, right, many Many of us are approaching this, those of us that still have children are approaching this as parents of children who are somewhat self-directed. I mean, we still have to manage them, but they do their own. I'm hearing from a lot of my colleagues who have small children, how exceedingly difficult it is to manage their own day of work and the schooling, because they're not teaching, but a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old requires sort of really a lot of intense supervision to do the work. And those are the sort of people that I'm really concerned about. That, and I know it's good for young kids to have routine, but I'm just seeing a lot of parents who are just overwhelmed and this is what some of our teachers are finding too, that Renee was talking about, right? Because you have to spend the morning or the day directing your kids, that then your own work is happening at night. And so that's sort of where I'm coming from, is thinking of some of the parents of little kids who have to try to work at home and manage 6, 7, 5, 4-year-olds. It can be a lot. So that's sort of, I think, why I was thinking along that way. But I don't know. It's just what I'm seeing in my limited sample of parents of small kids. That's what I was thinking about.
Okay.
I think you make a good point. It's just weighing and balancing which is the best way to go.
I honestly didn't think this would be this difficult.
I know.
I know.
There's no black or white answer. Each answer is reasonable.
But we have a motion on the table. I just, for clarification purposes, we have a motion and we have a second. But can we vote on that motion without an end date, or do we have to? We can.
No, we can make it separate. Mr. News, I expect, is going to make a second motion about the end date. Those two decisions can be taken separately.
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Jenkins, you are correct.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Unless there's further discussion, I know we've kind of belabor this. So there's a motion from Mr. Nunes on the table that we, and oh my gosh,
Cancel.
that we cancel. No,
No, go through
work
cancel.
through,
Cancel April vacation.
cancel April vacation.
And use
And we
those
have a
4 days for learning.
And we have a second by Mr. Oliver.
Yeah.
And so without further discussion, we bring it to a vote, and all in favor.
Aye.
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 Okay, opposed?
Me.
Okay, so motion passes 3-2.
3-2.
I like that. I could go either way, but you made some good points tonight that made me think. Okay.
Good discussion.
Yeah,
That
really
was
good discussion. It's
No problem.
I mean, like, we haven't gone through this before, and anything that we do, we have to kind of give ourselves a little bit of a break and know that we're just doing the
Right.
best we can.
That's right.
That's why we get the big bucks.
Yes. All right, so
Madam-
now, go ahead. I hear
Madam
somebody.
Chair, do you want a motion on the last day of school, Dr. Gifford, or you want to just,
I would recommend that we wait to see if another edict comes down, and after whether we're going to be closed after May 4th, and we can talk about that.
all right, so we can hold off on that one till the 27th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah.
I'm good with that. Because I was
Yeah,
just, the only thing I was going to say was going to be determined,
Yeah. Yeah, my understanding, and we don't know, I guess 13
Yeah.
other states have called it for the year already, and being locally, controlled, my understanding is we won't hear much until the end of April. Dr. Jenkins?
So I would just say too, I think we talking amongst ourselves, we're all sitting here trying to figure out, we know what teachers and staff want. It might be useful in interim to recommend to anyone who's watching this right now or on YouTube to share their thoughts with us.
Yeah, please.
I'd be interested in hearing what families think about sort of the end date. And so they're welcome to share their thoughts with us, because I think that might help inform our decision about the end date. I mean, again, we still have to get more information, but I would like to hear what people are thinking about it.
Agreed.
Fine with me.
Yeah, always welcome anyone's input on matters that we discuss. Okay, what? Oh,
I says, I'm going to get emails. Wow.
I don't get emails from the town, so there's still a glitch there, but they can get me
Usually
from
go to
ours.
Kate.
Yeah. Okay, so next on our new business is our proposed school committee scheduled meetings. So Dr. Gifford, I'll turn it over to you if you could.
Sure. Right now we have, I just had them in front of me. My goodness gracious. Oh, there they are. Our next meeting is April 27th. We've scheduled to May 18th, and we're also scheduled for June 22nd. I would recommend right now that we, it's such a topsy-turvy time that we don't even think about July and August yet, because I'm thinking that with the budgeting, the town meetings, all of that, that we're going to we might have to interject other meetings in with the budget, et cetera. So I would, basically, I would table even thinking about trying to schedule a July. That's what we were trying to do, was schedule July and August. But with everything going on, I would just suggest that we hold off. And again, any emergency meetings, or if we have updates about budgeting or town meetings, et cetera, we can call a meeting as necessary. That's my recommendation.
Okay, Dr. Jenkins?
I would agree. I mean, at some point, as sad as we will be to see her go, they will let Dr. Karafotis leave at some point.
Right.
Then we should at some point have a new member of the school committee. Again, I'm not here to see Carol go, but I think we would want to consult with that new member of the school committee about what works for them for any future meeting date. So I would agree that we should just wait. We may have to change some of the ones we already have scheduled, to be honest.
Right.
Right.
Or add to it.
Or add to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
very likely.
Yes.
That's good with me. So let's just table that.
So
Mr. Noon?
we could be sitting here next year, and no disrespect, we could be sitting here next year and Dr. Karafotis could still be on the committee because we haven't had an opportunity to have an election.
May not be until November.
We're happy that you're staying with us.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoy the company.
Good.
Glad you're still here, Carol.
All right, thanks. So next is, I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Gifford, for your superintendent's update. Got lots of updates, I know.
Sure. So, yeah, there's so much to talk about, but thank goodness you've been receiving updates as we go along through this very challenging time. And so I'm just going to go over the remote learning plan that we have presented to our staff. Well, actually, I know the high school had a staff meeting, which I was at this morning, to talk about it. We sent it out to all of the staff, and each building will be having a meeting to discuss the plan itself. The plan substance didn't shift much from what we were already asking folks to do 3 weeks ago, or whatever it was when this all started. We continue our extended learning page for enrichment activities. We continue to add tabs to that with technology updates, technology resources, technology tools and trainings. I know I'm hearing a little feedback, so I don't know, but the special education tab will continue. Most recently, we added an activities tab, which we've asked folks to send us examples of the work that students are doing through the remote learning, whether it's a little video clip. I know Mr. Parati's students have been sending all kinds of things. They're amazing, the work they continue to do. And we put that up. We put pictures of student work, et cetera, just to give folks a sense of what's happening, that we are continuing to offer our kids learning. So I just want to go over the remote learning plan a little bit, and to remind folks where we are, that we are in a pandemic, and we are in a situation where families are in crisis. We have folks financially perhaps suffering, maybe people are getting sick, et cetera. This is no ordinary time, and we can't say that enough. So the plan was built upon, as you all know, which you've been receiving updates regularly that we've been attending numerous meetings from DESE, the commissioner, the Superintendent's Association, our legal team, et cetera. Russell Johnston from DESE with the special education updates. It never ends of all the guidance we get. So when we started to build the plan, which was pretty much everyone doing it across the state, we involved the admin. All central office started building it over a week process. We invited building admin to continue to provide us feedback. We had a shared document. All of that went on. We sent draft versions out to union president and vice president 3 times to offer advice, feedback, etc. We then had a meeting, excuse me, I'm still coughing, had a meeting with the whole, we call DLT, the district leadership team, which includes all building as well as central office, on the final, which we kind of assumed would be our final version, with president and vice president of the union as well. We had a Zoom meeting to, again, discuss the highlights of the plan, any issues, etc. Based on that, we then sent the plan out to, as I said, the staff this weekend, and folks are holding meetings this week. So the plan, what we want to make clear is the plan is not provided to replicate school. That's very clear from DESE. We're not expecting that. Obviously, teachers are sitting 7 to 2 or 3 in the day holding meetings and lessons with kids. But what we're trying to do is offer students extended activities, enrichment activities, deepening their learning, revisiting their learning, etc. And this is all on advice from DESE and what's happening across the state. Some of the basic principles of our plan are really about teachers creating enrichment activities that they're interested in, that support student choice and agency, that provide enrichment and differentiation, deepening learning, refining skills, collaborating, wonderful time for teachers to collaborate. And we're asking them to give feedback to students on the learning that they do and the submission of work. Some of the guidance from our legal team as well as DESE is that, we're using lots of video conferencing, audio conferencing, those kinds of things, which again, we have our tech department working on that and making sure that we're in compliance with all of those platforms. I know some of them have been discussed quite extensively. Our tech team, as Chris laughs, yes. Our tech team is on that 100%, and we are issuing guidance probably tonight, if not tomorrow, on those kinds of things, the tech piece. But one of the things that we're asking folks to do, and then I'll give some of the highlights of what we're asking teachers to do on a day-to-day basis. We are asking them, again, with legal counsel, that they read disclaimers to our families, that there is an understanding about expectations of privacy with virtual conferencing, etc. We're in a different world. We know that, but we want people to understand. And again, I've been in contact with a number of, especially elementary teachers, who are having these virtual conferences with kids. Parents are loving it. Kids are checking in a certain time in the morning, having their morning meeting, etc. So it seems to be working very well. The important thing is about any of these virtual conferencing platforms is training, education, and making sure that teachers have that, which we have been doing. Our PD sessions with our tech teachers have been outstanding. We've had 30 and 40 people attending them to make sure that they understand the various nuances, how they can keep the meetings in control. So basically, you've read the plan, you have the general expectations. In general, I'll just kind of like a big balcony overview. We're asking people to check their email at least twice a day. We're asking that they respond to parents within 24 hours if it's an email, if they're on, and we're only asking this during work time, not on the weekends, etc. We understand that. We're asking them to hold at least 2 kind of meetings with their students per week, whatever it might be. We're asking them, obviously there are other folks involved, like secretaries, etc. I'm just laughing. I have someone texting me to share a broccoli casserole. Can you believe that? In the world of technology. I'm sorry. I thought that was funny. So teachers are being asked to create 3 enrichment lessons a week, 3, and post them at various times. Mind you, these lessons are done in collaboration with their teammates, with their content area specialists, with their grade level team. So for example, a grade 3 team across the district, Potter School might choose to do the English lessons 3 a week. Quinn might choose to do the math, but they're collaborating. So it's 3 lessons per week. We had, and again, the lessons are focused on deepening skills, really refining, giving kids enrichment to do that. Special education has been an ongoing discussion as we continue to receive updates from Russell Johnston through DESE and our legal counsel as well. We are still trying, of course, to always offer the best support we can to all of our students. Our special education students obviously have IEPs that they have in place. What we are advising our teachers to do is to look at the IEPs themselves and choose what do they feel this student needs the most to diminish the gaps, to decrease the amount of regression that student might experience. So a teacher might decide this student particularly needs really a lot of work on their, I'll just make this up, of course, developing their interest in math and their math skills in whatever standards they choose. We are asking the special needs teachers to contact parents, excuse me, to also ask the parent what they think. What do you think your child needs at this time? Based on that conversation and what the teacher believes is the most important thing, they make, we've given them a template which has 3 areas. They just write what they are going to prioritize for this length of time. This is an extraordinary time. This is not following the IEP 100%. We cannot do that, obviously, but we want to offer that child the best that we can. So the teacher will then, it's being called another remote learning plan for each student, what that focus will be for that special ed student. This will be in concert with the related service providers, such as an OT or a PT or a speech language pathologist. We've met with all of these people. Laurie Jodwin has done outstanding work in that area to explain all of this to them. We are suggesting they can offer a video clip of a strategy that they can use at home, that they can replay on something that they're learning about, etc. We have asked our classroom teachers to have Google, all of our teachers are using Google Classroom, and our specialists will be having links such as our PE, our special ed teachers, links to those classrooms. You don't want to overwhelm parents as well with a million various Google Classrooms. So those services will be done. I'm trying to think what else I've got here. Basic, big view. Student support teams are continuing to meet as well as our school counseling department. As you know, they are holding office hours. For example, I know the high school is 8 to 11 every day. People are asking to be able to be available to students, whether it's through phone or email or whatever it might be. We are also asking that our TAs collaborate with their classroom teachers or other teachers that they're assigned to with by the building principal. We put in case a teacher may not be connected to a particular connected to a particular teacher. Let's see, I'm looking at more of my notes here. We want to make sure that people understand grading is not going to be in the traditional sense, but each school is working out how that's happening. I believe you got the high school plan, which is is very, very well thought out and is allowing for student success. And we can talk more about that. Our technology department has been working, of course, to make sure that everyone has enough devices. As Mr. Oliver mentioned before about Chromebook dissemination, we've continued to do that. Just looking at any more notes of, we've talked on the special ed department, the TAs, the teachers themselves. That's kind of the big balcony overview. We did, as I said, put the remote planning out today. Our principals are also, other than the staff meeting that they're holding to give general overview, they're also going to be asking, meeting with their individual content areas or CPT teams to answer specific questions and help people through it. But I want to say also that for the last 3 weeks or so, this is the basic plan that our teachers have been following. We, the contact with students, the posting of the 3 lessons per content area, etc. The PE is on board there, and the music and art, they're all collaborating to offer these lessons through the Google Classroom. And I really want to emphasize that the tech department has been working really hard to make sure that the platforms that we're using, again, we're emphasizing Google Classroom, but all the other platforms are consistent with our policies and our principles, and that teachers have enough training to be able to implement them efficiently and without any, what's the word I'm looking for? That people don't get to ruin the Google Classroom, if you will, or the Zoom classroom. So that's kind of the giant highlight.
Dr. Jenkins?
So I'll know, Vera had asked during public comment about sort of whether we had input. And from my perspective, right,
I forgot about that.
the school committee, the charge of the school committee is fairly clear, right? We, vote on policy and we hire and fire the superintendent, but we don't direct sort of day-to-day operations and learning because we're not experts in that. That having been said, we got to see the learning plan. And I will commend the administration because I had a number of questions as a school committee member and also a parent. And everyone has been very responsive, sort of clarifying those things to us. And I think after having learned about this, I think, it's clear there's been a lot of work, and I think it's great. My concern as a parent of a high schooler, and we dealt with this with our college students, right?
Mm.
I've been teaching for, 15, 20 years at UMass Dartmouth. It stinks for me that I'm losing, part of a semester, but my students are only there for 4 years. So it's really that much bigger for them when they're missing out on a significant portion of the limited time they have there. And my deep concern, which I think Dr. Gifford and Mr. Tebow have addressed, and I think this is great, is that even though I know Mr. Tebow will say this and everyone says this is about learning, to be blunt, right? GPA is really important for our high school kids, right? It determines what sorts of colleges that they will be able to go to. And so my concern had been that by missing, right, first 1 month, now another month, right, that we're shortening the runway for those kids who are struggling to be able to succeed.
That's right.
It is incorporated into this extended learning plan, as Mr. Tebow explained to me, which I think is great. And students will be able to go back and relearn materials and resubmit some of that work to potentially dig themselves out of some holes that they have gotten into, or improve their grade. Now, I know from personal experience at UMass Dartmouth, some people will complain about this, right? And they'll say, oh, it's not fair that, kids who didn't do well get to go back. But again, I want to draw the point to these kids are missing out of a limited window of time that they are in school and that they have to demonstrate their ability. So I'm really happy that we've developed a plan to make sure. I think the biggest thing we have to be concerned about is making sure that students are not harmed by what we do there. And some of my colleagues, when we had this discussion at UMass, said, well, maybe then some students will unjustly benefit. They might. I'm not concerned about that right now. I am much more deeply concerned about preventing harms to students who are not going to have the chance to improve. And I think this learning plan has incorporated into it the ability for students to improve and to get better. And so I deeply commend everyone in the district who's been involved in it. I think it's really great.
Thank you. Next, Dr. Karafotis?
I agree. I was reading this and doing my highlighting as I went through it. Excuse me. I have a question though. I know that in any classroom, you're going to have several children that are at risk. My experience has always been at the elementary level. And I don't know how we're going to be able to keep a safety net underneath them because first of all, I don't know how much the parents are going to be involved in helping them. I know from what I've read on different things I've heard about the teachers, some of them are going above and beyond to make sure they're connected to their students. And I'm just concerned about those youngsters that there's always a group in every classroom almost that's at risk, and we're always trying to put in that extra support for them. So I'm concerned about how that's working. I don't know if you have any other insight. And how are the remedial piece going? I know we do a lot of inclusion, but I don't know, like in Title I, I don't even know, do you still have Title I? Are there any pullouts? I know you have coaches and you have your leaders, teaching leaders, but how much extra support are those youngsters getting?
So a couple of things. Our interventionists, math specialists, et cetera, they are providing lessons as well, enrichment activities as well. And they're connecting to, actually the specialists, if I recall, will have their own Google Classroom so that they're able to reach out to the kids and offer those little small nuances of strategy. So we have accounted for that. Aside from that, Dr. Karafotis, I can speak to, first of all, I know that our building principals have done an extraordinary job reaching out to those families that they know are really struggling, families that may not have heard from yet. Even when we think about giving out devices or providing lunches, our building principals have really worked hard they know their kids, they know their kids. So aside from that, we also have the student support team set up. For example, I know our middle and high school faculty has that. I know Mr. Doan is meeting with his student support team constantly. Those include our nurses, our outreach workers, our psychologists, to kind of touch base with those families. And specifically at the high school, their student support team is really separating those kids that were at risk of perhaps failing, et cetera, making personal contacts with them. And we are still running at the high school the FLIP program. If you recall, that was guidance counselors, a program where we're offering that online learning, the extra learning, those kids that needed that extra push. So yeah, we're worried about those two. We've talked about that, especially again, folks that may not have even answered an email yet or a phone call, and folks are really on that. But we do have specific practices in place to try to make sure we get to all those kids.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Anyone else want to comment?
Good job.
Chris? You're on mute.
You're muted.
Is that better?
There you go.
All right. No, I just want to say, Dr. Gifford, I know the amount of time and effort putting that together probably took you, your staff, and all the staff in the Dartmouth Public Schools. So, I thank you for the time that you put into there, and it really reflects the district plan and how we're going to move forward during this turbulent time. So I can't say enough about what your team, and a shout out to all the teachers in the Dartmouth Public Schools for all their actions and all their efforts that they've put in to really go above and beyond for the most part. This is something that we've never seen before. And I think it goes a long way with what Dartmouth schools are doing right now, especially with this plan that's been put together. So thank you.
You're welcome. I just want to make another update, just one more update. We increased our meal program today, I think by 40 more families. So
Wow.
Wow.
So we're continuing to do that, and that's been a great success. And the volunteers that are working to support, again, we talk about the academics and the remote learning, but we understand that we keep sending this message to Dr. Jenkins' point. We're not leaving any kid behind. This is a turbulent time, and our staff is going to make sure that you all succeed, and also that we're trying to take care of the basic needs. Families are struggling. So that's our philosophy.
Dr. Jenkins?
So I just want to follow up on the school lunch thing, because I've heard from a few people that that families are going to pick up the lunches for a fun outing with their kids. And I'm not going to judge anyone for picking up, lunches, but I do want to note that they do cost us money. I think Mr. Kiley has said we don't expect to get reimbursed for, some of this. So, anyone is welcome to come get us, food, but if you're doing it because you think it's fun.
Yeah, no.
Something else fun to do with your kids, just drive around or something.
Right. Mr. Kiley, you want to provide an update?
Sure. Yeah. On Sunday, we actually received word that we were eligible. We received a waiver from the USDA. It was a statewide waiver for communities that have less than 50% free and reduced lunch. They'll be eligible for reimbursement. So
Good.
we will be getting some reimbursement from this program. That's a good thing. Obviously, the better thing is that we're now serving, more than 2,500 meals a week. So
Wow.
7 days worth of food per week, breakfast and lunch. So we're helping a lot of people, and that's the important part. And we will be getting some money back from the feds. The food service operation as a whole won't be self-sustaining through this period, but it's a good thing we're doing. So.
It's a good thing for kids.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
Kathy?
Yes, John.
Yeah, no, just just to go along with the school lunch and the people, living close by. I've been by a couple of times, and they're the people handing out the lunches and the people picking them up. Been very very cordial, very helpful, very friendly, and it's just good to see that there are seriously people taking advantage of this program and an opportunity to have a meal. So I commend everybody for what they're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say, reiterate, what Chris said and others in that. I hate when this just shows my face. With the speaker view, it's really not nice. The effort that has been put in. I know I kind of have been advocating for lots of things, and I have a soft spot and a professional responsibility around the special education population. But I am so proud of the work that we have done and that we continue to do. And I hear some feedback too. What I've been sharing with families, if you just don't mind indulging me for a moment, is that this is a pandemic. What we're doing here in Dartmouth is, I'm proud to share, is of the, sorry, I've got some real life stuff going on in my house right now, is really great. We are of the districts doing a really good job, and I'm proud of that. In the circles that I'm in, I just want to reiterate to parents that, in what we know is FAPE, that free and appropriate public education, we're not going to get FAPE. We're going to get FAPE in that we're going to get something. And what I want to say to parents, if there are any parents that are kind of giving some feedback around struggling, believe me, I get it. I'm in the trenches with you, not giving myself too much stress around this, but there'll be a time to figure out what's missing. But every student, special education, not special education, our highest achievers, those that access the curriculum with as much ease as the top students in our district, everyone is going to be at risk for regression. And so those of us with children that are very vulnerable, I'm certainly it's important, but not to let that get in the way of working with the district. Contact the teacher if the teacher hasn't contacted you. I'm thrilled to hear about what we're doing on prioritizing the most important, or working with families to find out what the priorities are. Take what you get, appreciate it, do your best with it. Teachers, give yourself, some slack. We all have to get through this together. And so I'm just proud of what we are doing. The statewide, I tell families, honestly, we're up against federally the potential of removing some of the protections in IDEA, which is the protection for those students with disabilities to receive an education. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if parents get in an uproar and start arguing right now about what they're not receiving, the federal government, if they hear that, they're going to say, this is too hard. Like, this is not going to work. So let's put in, we've got about 15 more days before the Secretary of Education submits a recommendation around that. And I don't want to see that happen. I don't think that will happen or come to fruition, but we need to just take what we get and do our best with it. Take the data as a family member, do your best, be good to your kids, love your family, stay healthy, stay safe. But I'm really proud of all the work that the Dartmouth Public Schools has put in. So I know I've given you a lot of feedback on that. So I just wanted to acknowledge what's come to fruition with the plan. So thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
So I think that's really it. I don't have any other updates. That was enough talking from me. Does anybody else have anything that they want to share? No. With that.
You know what? I do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share something. As we're been talking here, our email inboxes are probably, some of you may already be blowing up as well from people that are watching this. I just want to make myself clear that we voted on, I'm just going back to the cancellation of April vacation. We went back to, we voted to cancel April vacation. Yes, we did not set a school end date. That's to be determined. I don't think that we're trying to deceive anyone. Myself or any of my colleagues are on this board are not trying to deceive anyone by not voting on a end date of school. We're just taking it one day at a time. I think that's all that Mr. Nunes was saying. I think maybe he might have been misinterpreted, but no, that's just simply not the case.
Yeah, Dr. Jenkins.
So I want to point out, since I voted against going away for April, or against canceling April vacation, that the feedback that we are getting is that the survey asked about canceling April vacation ending on the 15th.
Yes.
So 75% voted for those things together, right? And so what people are saying is, if you take away April vacation and keep going, if we had been asked about that, we would not have voted for that. Personally, that's why I wanted no vacation and the 19th. But I think if you ask people, should we take away April vacation? Yeah, if we get out the 15th. And the numbers would have been definitely, I think, this is what we're hearing, much different if they were given some different options.
John?
Yeah, I just saw I've gotten one email, and I'm assuming we all have, type of deal, and I just very quickly looked at it, and no, yours truly is not trying to dodge a bullet, and never have, but at this point in time, there may be some things with regards to the ending of school that are going to be out of our hands, depending as to what happens and how this plays out over the next few weeks. Between the governor, the legislative Department of Education, they may take that last day of school right out of our hands. And irregardless of what we say or do, we have to abide by it. So that's why we just pushed it off for a couple of weeks. That's all we're doing, to see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Dr. Karafotis?
Yeah, I think I might have gotten the same email. I just want to reassure people that we're we're looking to cut the April vacation and get out the 4 days earlier. That's what I am looking at right now.
That is not what we voted.
No, that's not what we voted.
That is
No, we
not
didn't.
what we voted.
We did vote to cancel the vacation.
But we did not vote on the end date.
No,
We
we
did not.
didn't vote on the ending, but right. But we still also have a contract with our teachers as to we have to honor that.
Well, we can discuss that, something that we may have to discuss.
Well,
Yeah. No.
You have the,
I don't think that's right.
I will note under procedural rules, someone who voted in the affirmative may make a motion to reconsider that vote. That would not include Ms. Amaral or myself, but any one of the people who have voted to, if they are willing, they want to open that back up, may make a motion and we may reconsider that procedurally. But you have to vote it in the affirmative on the vote in order to reconsider, to make that motion.
I am, Dr. Jenkins, at this point in time, I am good with the motion that was voted on.
Oh, crap. I have a concern, though, if perchance the school year doesn't end on the 15th and the teachers and the students don't get their vacation on the April vacation, I have a concern about that.
well,
That's
right now, the calendar you voted on was the 19th. And then you just voted to take out the 4 vacation days. So your
right.
Vote on 19th is the end date.
That's right. So the calendar so that calendar right now, we said we take out the 4 vacation, it backs up to the 15th. That's what's in place right now.
Right.
Only way that could change is if the committee voted to change that calendar. You have not done that. Right now, I mean, Mr. Nunes talked about it, but the committee has not voted. Your calendar now says we get out on the 15th. So that's what you have in place right now.
Okay. Leave it at that.
Shannon?
So I just want to reiterate, and I'm targeting my my argument to Carol here, is that we don't know if we're going to be back. And part of the reason why I wanted to go for the 19th was because, to Heidi's point, if we go back to school, that gives us more face-to-face days with the kids, right? Say Mr. Noon's estimate about when we come back is right. We don't know, right? But let's just play with it, right? We would go from the 18th to the 15th, face-to-face. If we keep April vacation, we go the 18th to the 19th. And I really want to maximize the number of potential days that we have kids in the classroom, in the school. That to me is really important. Will we get that chance? I don't know, but I want it for all of those kids to be able to have a more sense of normalcy.
And that's why I mentioned the going later. But, okay, that's my 2 cents.
All right. I'm going to just try to clarify this one more time. First of all, it's my understanding that the staff voted 75% to omit the April vacation with the understanding they would get out those 4 days earlier.
Yes, the question was, again, my eyeballs here, attend school during April vacation and students will be dismissed for summer break at the close of school on Monday, June 15th. That's what the staff voted on. That's correct.
Okay, well, that's what I'm in agreement with. But I hear other people saying now that you could extend the school year.
Well, by law, locally, that is a local decision. The state isn't going to come in and tell you to change that, which you have voted now on the 19th. We've just voted to back it up to the 15th by canceling. So that's what this committee has voted as of this point in time. And to
All right.
this point,
Just going to stay there with that.
yep.
Chris?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I'm going to stay with my decision with the expectation that it's going to be the 15th for the simple reason that we don't have money in our budget to continue to pay our staff beyond the 180 something days that they're in school. So yeah, I think it's a moot point. At this point, I would reconsider my vote and amend or go back and with whatever Dr. Jenkins said with the procedural piece to just set the end date of the 15th.
It's already there. I don't think we need to do anything to
No, we
that.
don't need to do anything with that.
So it's already set at the 15th, to Dr. Giffords' point.
Okay, then I guess we're all set.
I'm ready for a nap. Or a drink, I don't know. No, teasing-ish. Okay, so without, does anybody else have anything else that they wanted to? Should I even ask that? Our next regularly scheduled meeting is for April 27th. Of course, if we need to come together and meet an emergency, we will do that. But our next scheduled public meeting is April 27th, 2020. And with that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn into an executive session to provide an update with respect to collective bargaining with union personnel, not to return into open session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Kathleen Amaral,
Yes.
Carol Karafotis,
Yes.
Shannon Jenkins,
Yes.
Chris Oliver,
Yes.
John Nunes.
Yes.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. Close out of this.